welcome to the Bring Your Own Device, Transforming the Culture of Teaching and Learning webinar. We invite you to log into BYOD after this webinar is concluded. It is a project created by the U.S. Department of Education and Connected Educators, developed by the William and Ida Friday Institute for Educational Innovation and located on the campus of North Carolina State University. It's part of the College of Education and partners with the Consortium for School Networking. BYOD is an online community of practice, and we encourage you to explore and network within after our webinar has concluded by logging in at the upper right-hand corner of the BYOD.org site. We are using Blackboard Collaborate for today's webinar. You'll see there's a number of options for you to communicate with one another during our session today. You'll notice there is the option for emoticons. We can use a polling feature. We will be asking you in a few moments to be using one of the tools on the whiteboard tools section. But if you have any questions, need any assistance, or have a comment during today's webinar, please feel free to use the chat box. Type in your comment. I will be monitoring the chat and letting our facilitators today know if you have any questions. Again, please feel free to ask questions and make comments during today's session using the chat box. So, we would like to know where you're joining us from. Please take a moment to locate, using your whiteboard tools bar, the marker tool. After selecting it, you can select a color and a stroke size. Please select stroke about 10 will allow it to be seen. And on the map, go ahead and indicate where you're joining us from. See quite a few folks joining us from North Carolina, from Virginia. Excellent. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn things over to Ann Weir. Ann Weir is part of the team for transformation from COSN. She's a facilitator and an educator leader. And I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thank you, Jackie, and welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar. I'd like to share with you a little bit about Teaming for Transformation. I have the pleasure of serving as facilitator for Teaming for Transformation, leading a digital conversion for student learning. And as you can see on the screen, we have lots of different types of district and school leaders that are involved in this work. We know that when a district is considering a digital conversion or a digital transformation, that it's critical that we have leadership from all areas who are synchronizing their plans for that to take place with teachers and students in their districts. As you can see, we have superintendents that are part of this esteemed group, curriculum leaders collaborating with technology leaders, school board members who are involved, teacher leaders. We have chief financial officers who are critical to that team approach to moving forward with a digital conversion. The districts that are working in this leadership initiative with the Consortium for School Networking, there's about 23 total districts, and I think I saw one of our districts, Tricia Kennedy from Gwinnett, is with us this afternoon. And Tricia is a terrific leader in Gwinnett and has some good insights along this type of work. We have about 150 or so leaders who are participating in a blended learning environment where they are sharing their challenges, their suggestions, and collaborating together with regards to a digital conversion. We'd like to quickly thank our sponsors for Teaming for Transformation. We have Discovery Education, Solid, Innovation, and Pearson. As it says there on the screen, each of these sponsors are also committed, like our districts, to a digital conversion for student learning that produces positive student outcomes, but also provides an engaging learning environment for today's learners. Oh, I went too fast here. And I'll now turn it over to my colleague, Marcy Jang with COSN. Marcy?
Thank you, Ann. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes, great, thank you. Thank you, Ann. My name is Marcy Jang. I'm a project manager at COSN, and I'm focusing on our COSN's Participatory Learning in Schools Leadership and Policy Initiative, which is sponsored by the MacArthur Foundation. We are very happy to be collaborating with Teaming for Transformation for this webinar. We have two great districts from the project to be a part of this webinar. COSN is working with a group of 13 school districts called the Leading Edge Cadre, and they are committed to making a great digital transformation in their learning environments using digital media tools. And like the Team for Transformation group, we're also using an online community practice, which is hosted by BYOD. Like Anne mentioned, we're using it to share resources and ideas and support on our path for digital conversion. But hopefully we want to share our lessons learned and best practices to other school districts who are interested in implementing a learning environment rich with technology and digital media. So we're very happy for this webinar, and the two districts who have agreed to share their lessons and best practices. Let's see, so I would turn over back to Anne to introduce the first district.
Thanks so much, Marcy. It's my pleasure to introduce Fairfax County Public Schools. I had the pleasure of visiting with them in September and was just so blown away by the tremendous amount of work that they have done towards transforming the culture of teaching and learning, and much of it's being done through their BYOD experience. And so it is my pleasure to introduce Diane Harrison, who's an instructional specialist, and Gordon Jenkins, who is the coordinator for technology support, to share their BYOD lessons learned with our group this afternoon. And so I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Anne. This is Diane Harrison. Of course, I'm not Gordon. We're from Fairfax County Public Schools, which is a very large district in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And I'm trying to get to the next slide. There we go. In about 2011, we started to go down this path. We knew that we would never be able to provide a one-to-one environment in our district due to funding and our large population. And we started to investigate what would we need to have to embrace students bringing in their own devices. A lot of things to consider. There's student use, when is that acceptable, student safety, our infrastructure, was that ready to handle additional devices on the network? But as we went down the path, we learned that there are so many positive benefits to BYOD. With increasing access to technology, students have greater access to digital content. We did introduce online textbooks last year, and the need for additional devices became very apparent. We knew that the content online was so much more valuable to students to better understand our content. It also helped us provide opportunities for students to focus on 21st century skills with having more tools and a variety of tools to create, collaborate, communicate with each other, sometimes in real time. And it was also a great way to provide that transition, that smooth transition between what we do at home and what we do at school. So what we learned is that as we were planning this transformation, we couldn't just announce to the whole district that, hey, let's bring your own devices. We needed to make sure we had all the stakeholders together to discuss this and to understand, what does this really mean? Teachers, principals, the support staff within the school. We pulled a number of teachers together to start a conversation. What would be needed for a school? What are the fears that a teacher might have? How can we help schools get started? Last summer, we had a project where we brought several teachers together to develop a website of resources that would help a school get started. The website contained parent letters, teacher ideas and resources to get them started, communications to the community about what does this mean, tips for students and how could they use their devices within the classroom. we developed this site and have been sharing this site with all of our schools as a way to get going. We have sampled websites that schools have created on their own to promote BYOD, and we've shared those out with others so that they don't have to start from scratch. They can take advantage of what somebody has already done. We have tools within our district, Blackboard and Google Apps for Education, which are universal tools. They're used for everything at all grade levels, and those tools are a great way to take advantage of student-owned devices. They're not device specific. They can be used at any time, anywhere. And one of the biggest fears that we learned from our teachers during our summer project was teachers felt as though they needed to know about every single device that was available out there, and they needed to know every single app that was available. And that was one of the biggest fears that teachers had. They could not support it. They didn't know what they would do if this came into the classroom, and they didn't know how to use it. So our biggest thing that we did was we tried to relieve their fear by saying, do you already use Google Apps for Education, or are you already using Blackboard? If you can start off with those two applications, then the rest will come easy. I see there are some questions. Are there some questions that we need to address now, or are we going to...
Diane, I think it'll be fine to hold off right toward the end, okay?
Okay, that'd be good. Gordon and I have been involved in presenting to a number of different stakeholders within the county. We've talked with teachers and principals, the support staff at the schools, and using our website that we developed to try to help them get started, help them understand what this would mean for their school. And each school has developed their own guidelines as to where they want to use their own devices. We have some schools that have device-free zones, such as at the secondary level, our locker rooms would be a device-free zone. Or some schools choose to allow them to use their personal devices within the cafeteria at any time, or some choose not to. Some classrooms have put signs outside their door, so when kids are coming into class, the sign would say, yes, you need your device today, or no, you don't need your device today. So that gives a student an idea of what's going to happen in class today. We've developed strategies for teachers how to take advantage of student devices. When the teacher's talking, the devices are turned down or put away. We talk to teachers about the greatest benefit of a personal device for a student is them learning how to create organizational tools or mechanisms for themselves. And I think because it's a personal device, students have to understand how to use it personally for their instruction. So that's pretty much our basis for how we really would like schools to get started. We don't want them investigating apps. We don't want them to be experts on every single device. It's the first reason for this is it's a personal tool. We want to teach our kids to be responsible with it and learn how that device can be used for their own learning. And then second, we do want them to be able to use their own device to supplement what they're learning in the class.